Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hand of Fate. I'm Nai.
I'm Mako, and I can't remember. Were we actually in mid-run last time, or had
Nope.
we brought ourselves to a
We brought ourselves to a
grisly end?
close, so back to the Shadow Agent. So, I had an interesting thought on my way
Okay.
home today.
At their heart, all
Arm of the
games
Watcher.
are about
Interesting.
power, are they not? The acquiring,
One
The
second in
armor,
every
second every
five.
five,
the
invincible.
retaining
Huh.
of power. And
I don't
most
think it's a particularly
importantly,
good,
the use
good item, but
Oh, for a starter item. Excuse me. Ooh, wow.
bless you.
It's recording now, I guess.
Yeah, for a, for a starter item, it's not terrible. It's just also not good. So I had an interesting thought, because, people have been asking, would I do, what was I going to do about Final Fantasy X coming to PC? And I didn't really have any intention to mess with it too much. I've already beaten the game. I've practically 100%ed it. I might actually be able to do so now that there's no HDMI lag that would cause me to be unable to do Lulu's legendary weapon. But what I was thinking is, Mako, did you ever hear of something called an Odin's?
And context, please.
Well, that's just it. The context is Final Fantasy X.
I have never heard anything involving Odin Final Fantasy X.
So this wasn't something that I ever heard of there being a huge following for, but when I was a kid looking on GameFAQs to get information about, I wanted to know how to get Anima and all that good stuff, I learned that it was a thing on there. And that is definitely staying on top. So Odin's stands for 1 day in no saves. And it literally means exactly what it says on the 10. It's beat Final Fantasy X in less than 24 hours without ever saving. So,
Sounds like pain.
well, not so much, because that's what I was thinking of. So I was thinking on my way home, what do we got here? Maiden River, that's actually worth turning around for. I was thinking, well, how would you do it, right? So, because, I'm kind of getting somewhat interested in the speedrun community, and while I don't think that I personally have the fortitude to actually speedrun myself, this would be something I'd be actually kind of interested in doing. The problem is it's an incredibly long run. That's the downside. But
Sort
I
of
was...
thing you'd really want to stream, I would have thought.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is maybe doing a stream for it or something. But, so I was actually thinking on my way home, how would I do it? Like, what would be my plan? And that's what's kind of interesting to me. So I have actually 2 days off coming up sequentially this week. And so I was thinking maybe I'd actually try this. So, I mean, the idea, it's strategy talk is what I was thinking here. But, because you were here the entire Final Fantasy X run, you know what you know what that's up to. Now, remember that, yes, our actual series lasted, I forget how long. It was long
A
as hell.
sizable amount of time.
So the actual series, my actual playtime was something upwards of 140 hours. Obviously, well over the 24-hour requirement. However, it needs to be said that number one, probably like 60 to 80 of those hours was the 100% completion run. It was stuff like, setting up for penance, which obviously the Odin's run would not require penance. It wouldn't require dark aeons.
You just want to finish.
You just want to beat the game. So we wouldn't require penance or dark aeons. Yeah, I'm aware. I want those to be on top. Thank you. Give me one of them.
I would have liked to use it as an excuse to try and get you to play 10-2, but I know you're not really all that sold on it, so...
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But, so you wouldn't need Dark Aeons, you wouldn't need Penance. So that cuts, probably 60 to 80 hours off the time. You skip all of the cutscenes, so that's another probably 10 hours is my guess. You don't have to grind, because the idea is, if I'm imagining correctly, we'd only use 3 characters. So you wouldn't
understand what
grind
this will do now?
because you
Or did I
wouldn't be
rush you
using
through
all
the
those characters,
pushing you
if that
to
makes
the blade
sense.
before you were
That makes sense.
So
I'm not sure.
just
I'm not
the
entirely
three
certain how
characters
viable it
you
would be,
get,
but-
just the 3 characters you choose, get all the experience, all of it. Instead of splitting it amongst, 5 characters, whatever the case may be.
Right.
Or the full 7, whatever it would be. So not only do you have that, you don't have to grind for every character. You don't have to set that up. That's not important. You only have to do as much Blitzball as you feel is necessary. I'll get to that in a second. The legendary weapons I don't think are all that important, though I'd want to check to see if anybody in particular's weapon would be worth going after. So it's stuff like that that kind of has me interested. Like, for example, the 3 characters. Because, if you want to just split it amongst just 3 characters, that's important. But which 3 characters? Well, you
Yuna...
obviously don't want Yuna. She's worthless. Like, it pains me to say that, but there is nothing that Yuna brings to the table that would keep her worth doing. Because you want to fight fast, so you want to be using mostly physical and non-magic attacks. You don't want to be limited by magic, but also the fastest attacks in the game are basic attacks. So you kind of want to not be dealing with that. Also, Yuna's major thing she brings to the table is Aeons, but Aeons have this long-ass summoning sequence. They get their only attack. You don't have to use the rest of your people, which means you're not quite attacking to your full potential. So I kind of feel that Yuna's useless. I might be wrong.
Well, she might be for those reasons, but at the same time, aren't you like required to use her in certain situations?
Well, that's what I'm trying to think of. So Yuna has to do a certain set of summons. So she has to do a certain couple of summon fights. But most of that is the Aeon. The problem is the Aeon uses some of Yuna's stats. So that's what we're thinking of. But also keep in mind that under-leveled characters level extraordinarily quickly, so you only have to level them every so often, and then they will actually, they'll be fine. Lulu, you don't need at any point. At all. She's unneeded. She doesn't have any real damage output. She doesn't have any particularly good spells. You'd only use her specifically against enemies that have only magic immunity, but the majority of those you can just run away from. Like, I'm thinking elementals, but you can run away from elementals. You can just beat them to death. And eventually, we would hopefully get, like, one of the other characters to have magic ability. So, not a big deal. The Dark Flan, if we're specifically talking about, like, Mount Gagazet, but I think you can run away from that. And if we do choose Yuna can handle that. Or you can have, someone else use Guard Break, which would fix that problem too. So, Lulu's not required. I'm trying to think actually of any place where she would be potentially required, and I can't think of one.
She's useful in a lot of situations, but she's not really necessary.
Yeah, there's no fight where just Lulu gets used. Now, she does have her ranged attack, but we can solve that problem. So next is Kimahri. Kimahri does have a storyline required battle that is actually pretty hard, and that's the battle on Mount Gagazet. So we'd have to level up Kimahri at least a little bit. Doesn't have to be much, but he has to be leveled up at least enough to handle that battle. Okay, so then we get to Rikku. Rikku I'm curious about, because I don't think she'd be required. She doesn't have an amazing amount of skills that bring a lot up to the table, but
she's a generalist in a lot of ways. The problem is that she doesn't have a lot of raw damage output.
Yeah, it's mix that you'd want out of her. It's her ultimate, but I don't think we'd be getting the majority of the like the really good mix items. We'll go ahead and take the Master Ring. Thank you. So I don't think we'll be getting the majority of the really good mix items, so her ultimate, her overdrive is not all that important. You could And also, she's very weak to start with, is the other thing. So I think we'd probably give Riku a pass. She's just not that important of a character. Okay, so then we get to the last three. So the three I haven't mentioned yet. Tidus, Wakka, Auron. Now what's interesting is Tidus, Wakka are two of the three that we did use against Penance. We also used Riku, but we used her because of her overdrive, and we're not going to really have access to the good stuff from that. So we'd probably want to use Auron because he has piercing. We'd want to use Wakka because he has aerial attacks. And we'd want to use Tidus because he has access to haste really early. Auron will eventually get access to the break abilities, which we care about. The problem is he's really slow. His turn timer on ATB is really low. So we'd, or he doesn't come up much. So that's the downside to Auron. So you'd either have to fix his stats, which means maxing out the sphere grid, which is probably not going to happen, or we'd have to haste him, which is going to be the general plan. We want to haste as fast as possible, so we want Tidus to be out and about and fighting as much as possible so we can level him up as fast as possible. You want to get haste as soon as you can, because that move's absolutely broken. So what then becomes interesting is once we get haste, do we stick with Wakka Auron? Now Wakka he's guaranteed to be in your party. You have to have Wakka in your party, specifically because of attack reels. He does the most damage output out of any character in the game, period. But attack reels you have to get out of playing Blitzball. So then comes the other question. Attack reels is a random drop out of Blitzball. You have to earn it. It's not something you're given for free. So the question is the amount of time you spend trying to force attack reels to drop and also playing Blitzball for however long it takes to get attack reels worth the time you save by having attack reels? So
Not
that's the next
entirely
question.
sure that's that's a fair trade there.
Well, think about it for a second. If you this is what I was thinking about on the way home, like this entire thing that I'm talking about now. Okay, so think about how the game plays, right? So we start off, you start the game, no choices are made. You go all the way up to let's see. So you get up to Besaid, and you're always going to be using Tidus and Wakka. You'll get Yuna at Besaid, and you will use her until you get Kimahri. You'll probably use exclusively Wakka, Tidus, Kimahri until you get Auron, and then you keep Auron. So that gets you all the way up to Luca. At Luca, and then on the first major thing you have to do, the first major fix you have to do is you'd want to have Eject Shot 2. So you have to nail the Kilika to Luca boat event that gives Tidus Eject Shot 2, because you're gonna need that. This lets you
I'm sure you're grateful for that.
I mean, so you're skipping all of your cutscenes, so it doesn't matter that there's a longer cutscene for winning the tournament. So you win the tournament. And then the thing is, as soon as you win the tournament, at that point, you can now play Blitzball as much as you want. So you'd want to develop your team real quick. You'd want to get a good team, but you could very quickly at that point grind for attack reels. So the question is, could you get a team good enough to actually get attack reels at that point? And I think you could, mostly just because I think you could because no other team would be developed by that point, so you could probably win as long as Tidus has Eject Shot. Because all you have to do is, you do Eject Shot, You get 1 or 2 points on the board, and then you just play keep away for the remainder of the game. You're not caring about experience because that's all you're caring about is winning. And because that's a timed thing, it's kind of auto-scroller style, all you care about is get the point and then just make sure they don't get it back. And as soon as you get attack reels, you never have to touch Blitzball again. And I think attack reels comes from a tournament instead of a league, so you only have to play about 4 games. So the question is, does having attack reels before, like, you get that before the Chocobo Eater. Like, this is early in the game. So having attack reels for every truly major boss, is that worth it? And I think by that point it is. Because now you're killing Seymour with it. You're going to be, you'll be doing everything with it. And because you have Tidus using haste, which we got haste as early as Macalania Temple, which is considerably later. But if you have haste, you can get a good overdrive meter on Waka, you should be using attack reels really damn often. And then I just don't know if you're going to be keeping Auron. That's the question. Because Kimahri also has piercing. Just Kimahri doesn't have the sheer fuck you damage that Auron does. So the question is, we know we have to have Tidus because of haste, and by the time anybody else can get haste, Tidus already has quick hit, and you're moving on from there. So I think Tidus has to stay. Not to mention,
you have choices,
okay.
And I have
Not to mention that Tidus levels up his overdrive based on simply how many overdrives you have used with him. So, by continuing to use him, you could maybe get to Blitzball Ace really early, and that's a pretty high damage overdrive for him. So we can get his pretty quick too. Kimahri's overdrive is terrible, so we shouldn't factor that in. So that doesn't matter. His is worthless. Auron's overdrive is dependent on getting... it's dependent on getting all of Auron's spheres, which is the problem there, and that takes time. Because half the spheres you have to backtrack for. So you wouldn't be able to get all of Auron's stuff until after, basically until after getting the airship. Which is a long time to wait to get overdrives. He's got some good overdrives, but his best, I think the best damage one is the last one, and you wouldn't have access to that till late. But Kimahri doesn't have really any good overdrives that you can access at any reasonable point in time. So Kimahri doesn't matter for his overdrives. Yuna, Yuna you kind of care about because she's got some good stuff, but, she's just so weak in auto attacks.
So like everything else, she relies on the stuff that she has to build up.
Yeah. She just doesn't kill quickly.
You can't... I'm getting this feeling you can't really play this like an RPG.
No, you're not playing this like an RPG. You're playing this in terms of what attacks do the most damage in the fastest time. That's why we care about... That's really why we care about Tidus. Because when I say fastest time, I mean least amount of actual moves used. Because you have to wait for your turn to come up, and you have to wait for the opponent to use moves. So we have to make it so they get the least amount of moves while we get the most amount of moves. And our moves have to come up often. So it's a very large amount of planning. And then here's the other question. Are there any of the legendary weapons that are worth spending time on? Because in order to get legendary weapons, you have to do the whole mirror side quest, which, I mean, admittedly... Okay, we're going to change over to that. Admittedly, the mirror side quest doesn't take really any time at all. But, whose legendary weapon do you get,
Choices.
Well, Tidus's... See, the problem is I remember how to get most of them, but I don't remember what they do. That's the downside. Tidus's is pretty good, if I remember correctly, and his is actually easy to get. Lulu's, obviously, we're not going to use Lulu anyways, but also hers would be one of the longest ones to get.
God, the lightning bolts.
Lightning bolts.
Ugh.
You also wouldn't want to get, you wouldn't want to get Riku's one either, because hers requires playing the Cactuar game. So you'd skip hers kind of no matter what. Wakka's, once again, requires getting, Wakka's requires doing Blitzball. So I think his would be a, like, thing of opportunity. If it just so happens that that particular item pops up while you're grinding to get attack reels, you'd go for it. If his doesn't pop up, you'd skip it. Because the World Champion, the actual weapon itself, you get in Luca while you're there, if I remember correctly. You get it after you after you finish the tournament. I can't remember where his star is. I think his star is on I think one of the items is the one that's on the Highland Road, and the other one is the one on the other one you get from playing Blitzball. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's doable. I'm thinking I know enough about the game. And it doesn't feel like there's a lot of luck involved, which is the real question you would have with this sort of thing. As long as you really know what you're doing, like you have an idea of your strategy and things like that. I don't know, I'm actually really excited about this idea. For you. And now I get stabbed. Yes, stab? Stabby stabby? No? Okay. There's the stab. And I could just, I could stream it. So that'd be the cool thing. See, what I'm also thinking about is there's also the Yojimbo thing. Yojimbo, I think, is the only reason I would really care about Yuna. Is if I could somehow, not as much guarantee, but if I could somehow figure out how much time Yojimbo could save us. Because he can one-shot, I believe, any boss in the game, apart from the last one.
Isn't his well, you're gonna have to fight him.
Right, that's the thing.
And you're also
well, no, you don't have to fight him. You have to buy him. He's the one you buy.
Yeah, well, if you get it wrong, don't you have to fight him? No, that's Dark Yojimbo.
No, you're thinking Dark Yojimbo, which we would never fight in the first place.
No, but then a question becomes, how long until you have the money to fork out for him?
Well, it shouldn't be too long because because we're not going to be buying things. Like, we won't be buying equipment for half the characters in the game. We're not going to have to buy a lot of items. We're not going to be paying Blitzball players for the most part. You're not going to have to buy any of the training weapons. That's not going to be required. So there's a lot of stuff you're not going to buy. And then remember,
but keeping in mind also that
I'm sure you'll leave this one in time. You do not seem to have the temperament.
Keeping in mind also that you're also not going to be fighting very much, so you might not necessarily be making very much money.
I don't know if see, that's the thing. I don't know if if the idea that you're not going to be fighting very much is actually legit.
Well, as much. Let me put it that way.
Because if you think about how the game works, if you can get your attack damage decent enough, because remember, you're using the same characters constantly, so your stats are going to be pretty decent the entire time. So if you're using the same characters and you're leveling up your attack damage, there's no reason that it should take too long to kill your enemies. So the question is, what's faster? Killing the enemies and getting the experience out of it to level up, or running? With the understanding that every character in your party has to run to get out. Because remember, all 3 characters have to individually, on their own turns, run away in order for you to escape the entire battle. And you have to do that for every battle that you intend to run from.
I never liked that concept that much.
I'm not a big fan of either.
Well, I mean, theoretically, as long as at least one gets away, you get away with it, but then you have to put the other two back together.
But then you have to get everybody back up, yeah. But that's the good thing, though. You don't have to raise people. They come back with 1 health. So as long as you get away, you get away.
Not the worst mechanic I've seen, mind you, but...
I like games that do that. So... it sounds doable.
Sounds doable. So for some strange reason, like, I was just thinking that's a mechanic I could do without, and my brain just suddenly goes, there's a handful of those, and there's actually only a handful of games that do that, you know, I absolutely cannot countenance the game mechanic, but... No, it sounds like it's doable.
I don't know, I am actually, like, reasonably excited about this idea.
Caverns. One cannot hope to find adventure without a
I might actually do it. Please tell me I actually switched.
You might have enough food to make
Whoops.
Did you just give him your Kraken's Claw?
I did, because I was so certain that I switched that to the hammer, because that's what I told it to do. But apparently that's not going to happen. Apparently we're not gonna do that. Apparently.
Have we even seen a token card lately?
Not so far, but we're only 8 floors in. Like, I don't expect to see it this early.
Interesting choice.
Okay, we're gonna do a little bit of shop abuse real quick. Just because I have a lot of money, and this is a standard shop. I already bought the Dragon Ring, so that's a thing that I own.
Shop abuse. I love that that's a thing.
Definitely gonna buy that.
The whole shop abuse.
Mm-hmm. Technically, I don't need to do it anymore because I just did buy the Ring of Reward, but I am going to hit this up one more time.
Ouch. If only you had a meal.
Oh no, if only I had food.
Finally, an opportunity to eat.
Yeah, we actually have gained, there's the Dragon Helm. There's the Dragon Sword.
Starvation begins.
And there's the Guild Ring. Which I should have bought first, but... Okay, let's get some food real quick.
I'm sure you're grateful for that.
Okay, so we have 3 of the 7 dragon relics already.
That's not a bad way to start.
Not at all. We have a lot of money. We don't have a lot of health yet, but that's fine. We also already have the Master Ring. So...
Is it the one that reacts the other rings?
Yep.
I'm not brains good today.
Play the game. Now,
and I'm about to get myself 2 more rings.
The bored, the obsessed.
Ring of Wizardry, that's fine. That's just money.
Some come here merely to
Ring of Experience. Hey, look, max health. We also have a fair amount of blessings already. I think I have like 4 blessings at the moment.
Is that what you're doing now?
So yeah, we are in a very good way at the moment. Actually, right now, for the Odins, my only worry is the thing you'd expect normally, going to the bathroom. But I suppose that's just, like, pausing and, you know, making it quick.
Just pausing, making it quick, and just hoping you don't, like, have a accident, literally. Yeah. Like, not in the bathroom sense.
There will be no poop socking. We're not doing that. I mean...
Not that kind of accident. I was more thinking, you know, you have, you know, you press the wrong button, or... You know, the enemy pulls a critical at the wrong time, and...
Well, see, I don't find that to be particularly likely. I know how most of those enemies react. I actually think it's likely that we may be able to beat it faster than 24 hours. Like, it may not be that big of that long of a thing because we're skipping everything. The problem is, though, I have no experience with the game at standard level after Unalesca. Because the only times I've actually gotten past Unalesca was when I was going after Penance, and I was over-leveled.
I was gonna say it's the gimmick bosses like Unalesca that are gonna be really the trick, I guess.
Not really, if you know how to fight them.
Yeah, but you might actually have to play by the game's rules, and that's not necessarily good for you.
By the time we get to Unalesca, I will have... By the time we get to Unalesca, I should have Reflect on Tidus, Hastega, Attack Reels,
Another curse.
like, we should have a lot of stuff by then. Also, I also didn't mention, we don't care about Anima, so we don't have to do all of the puzzles in the, like, all the long puzzles in the temples. We don't have to worry about those. Because we're not getting Anima. So that makes that faster. In fact, what we're looking for is, for the most part, all we're looking for is a, for the most part, all that we're actually looking for is we're looking for, like, the TKO on Waka. We're looking for some Petrify weapons. We get that, things move a lot faster. Or instant death weapons. And you can buy half of those. Ooh, we get 10 health. We're getting a lot of health up cards. Okay, we'll go ahead and do Heroes Remains.
It's a small map. It's not like you have to go that far.
Yep. It'll probably cover that, store right there if I'd make a guess.
Little pleases me more than watching your
attempt
to wriggle away from bad luck.
Go ahead and go say hi to the Tinker. We do have 109 gold. Let's see if he has any of the dragon relics that we're looking for. Mace is my hand. Alchemical silver, ring of return. Okay, we'll go ahead and skip all that. Because we have to pass back over that shop on our way out the door. Here's Hero's Return. Here, have your stuff. I got a Blessing with Holy Touch. Okay, doesn't help me all that much, but it does mean that I get more health every combat, so...
Could do worse.
Yeah, we could do a lot worse. Ring of Defense. No, no, no. Yes. Okay, so it's Guildmaster's Ring. So if we enter a shop, we'll get food. Only happens the first time, but... Also money.
Caves and caverns.
Money is not something we have much worry about.
Oh, never. Traps go deadlier, and that's going to be it. Okay, guys, well, that's it for us today. I hope you guys actually like this idea. If I choose to do this, and I'm thinking I will, it's spending the money on Final Fantasy X again. But if I choose to do this, you guys will be seeing an announcement on the channel for the day I do it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you soon.